Turns out ignoring your wife to play Starfield for 10 straight days is not conducive to a healthy marriage. With that in mind, let's check out the cute, co-op, and 100% wife-approved Boti Byteland Overclocked, a 3D platformer that takes place inside a PC and is fittingly rendered in the PC-intensive Unreal Engine 5. You are Boti, a bite-sized bite-collecting bot and the newest addition to the bright and bustling world of Byteland. After getting integrated by your diametrically opposed and perpetually bickering infobots, 0 and 1,
I hope you're not going to whine like this in front of our task manager.
I'm not whining.
You're indirectly asked by Byteland's wise old operating system, the kernel with a K, to overclock Byteland's aging CPU. As is the case whenever I try to do anything to my rig, things go horribly wrong, and you spend the rest of BBO's campaign cleaning up your mess, not to mention unraveling a related mystery regarding the disappearance of Byteland's most cherished bot. It's not exactly a memorable white-knuckle thrill ride, but BBO's plot is pretty much perfect for a co-op couple looking to smile along with something light and mildly interesting. Ditto that for the game's occasionally funny characters, from the sneaky salesman Goodput to the grizzled detective Columbot. While I, a certified slut for puns, appreciated all the Boti humor in BBO, not to mention the mostly solid voice acting.
Meet me by data pin DQ4. I'll be waiting.
There simply isn't enough of it. Characters often shout the same lines over each other over and over again.
Worm alert!
Worm attack Boti.
Worm alert!
Worm attack Boti.
And the menu option to disable in-game dialogue refused to work for me. Assuming this gets patched by release along with the annoying subtitles that don't sync up with what's being said, no real complaints from me. Alas, that's not quite the case for BBO's gameplay and content. Combat, for starters, is a complete joke. There are maybe 5 enemy types, all of which go down easier than your mother. And sometimes they won't even aggro you at all. Ironically, because the game's combat never really gets in your way, it never really ruins your experience, meaning I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. The non-combat platforming, meanwhile, is full of fun if familiar mechanics. In addition to, of course, running and jumping, you'll grapple and glide, pilot data stream bumper boats, slide Guitar Hero style down musical minigames, and use magnets to push and pull objects to solve some extremely easy puzzles. It all feels pretty good, not as polished as was, say, SpongeBob the Cosmic Shake or Psychonauts 2, but shoot, those were 2 of the best games I've ever reviewed. Moving on, not much to say about BBO's user interface. There's a handy scanner function that illuminates all of the area's collectible coins and costumes in case you're going for 100%, but you might struggle to get there regardless of scanner due to the game's dubious playability. Occasional frame rate lag, a couple of crashes here or there, objects not rendering until after you hit them. Hey, I suppose it's fitting that Byteland would have some bugs in it. To its credit, it's also got a ton of charm. BBO's little world is delightfully realized with fun nods to a PC's inner workings. You'll zip around through high-speed cables, glide along cooling fans, open caches full of bytes, encounter big thermal paste tubes, and even fight a giant firewall at one point. Levels which you can repeat any time through the game's central hub all have a nice thematic variety to them, though your objectives will remain more or less the same for each. Accrue enough bytes to unlock the next section of each level until you reach the level's end. Repeat. While BBO breaks up this routine with a few punny boss fights, including a Trojan horse you take down Imperial Walker style, each fight needs a bit of polish, added complexity, or both. And because progress doesn't reset on death and you can die infinity times, beating certain bosses becomes less a challenge and more a test of endurance. But even if BBO is a little BB busted, at least you'll have a pretty time playing it. This marks my first foray into Unreal Engine 5, and while it's not nearly as jaw-dropping as I had hoped, there are definitely some wow moments to be had, including an impressive reflection effect on these little wobbly CD jumping platforms. Can't recall seeing this done as well before. I also loved Boti's often adorable animations, from bashing baddies with your antenna ears to body slamming off the gooey glitches that stick to you. It's just pretty darn cute all the way through. If my better half had a complaint though, it's that she, quote, couldn't really see what was going on in this game, which is probably half due to your unoutlined character sort of blending into BBO's bright glowy environments, and half her refusing to go to the eye doctor for a year and a half because she doesn't like that little air puff eye pressure test. So do with this what you will. Finally, BBO's electronic soundtrack never stood out to me as particularly impressive or interesting, but it's still pleasant and playful, not to mention thematically appropriate. The sound design, meanwhile, is a little inconsistent. Certain actions like combat and collecting bytes sound great, but others like sliding through musical notes aren't as responsive as you'd like. In the end, BBO is an okay little platformer set in a cute world that supports couch co-op and online multiplayer. We beat it in about 8 hours, but you could probably finish up in 5 if you commit to not intentionally pushing each other off every cliff in the game. BBO launches for PC on September 15th and consoles in early 2024. No announcements on price yet, but I'd say it's worth checking out at or under $20 if you're jonesing for a lighthearted co-op adventure. I'm giving it an aggregate Megascore of 2.87 out of 5, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the game or my review. Until next time, this is Scope, and thanks for watching.